Have you ever felt yourself being overwhelmed or even feeling like you are over capacity? If you're anything like me, or most of the people in the world, there have been moments where you have been over capacity. You have taken on more than you can handle, but it wasn't that you weren't capable of handling it. It was more so because you misunderstood your capacity. I know for me personally, there have been times where people had to tell me that I was doing the most. Maybe you've been doing the most in some areas of your life where you're like, man, it feels like there's not enough time in the day. I got more money than month. All of these things are signs of being over capacity. Over capacity can cause you to live a limited, less healthy life with less balance. Welcome to the Reflections Podcast, where we replay our wins and losses to build more winning seasons. My name is Antoine, and in today's podcast, we're talking about the challenge of capacity. Let's roll. So, if your life has ever felt like you were drowning, if your life has ever felt like just too much was going on, maybe it was a matter of you were doing too much or a lack of management. So let's unpack how to better manage our tasks, responsibilities. And to be honest, this is something that I am constantly trying to work on. And I'm going to share how I've been able to start feeling less over capacity. But we'll tell a little story first. Imagine for a moment that you have a 16-ounce bottle of water and you have a gallon jug. Do you have that visual? Get that visual locked in. You have a 16-ounce gallon of water and you have a gallon of water. Now, let's pour all the water out. We're pouring it into the sink. They're both empty now. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to fill the 16-ounce bottle with water. This bottle of water can hold 16 ounces of water. It is capable of holding 16 ounces of water. We can put some water into the gallon jug, and it's capable of holding a gallon of water. Now, the thing about these bottles or the gallon or the jug or whatever you want to call them, they both have the capacity to hold what they hold. They also both have the capability to hold things. It could be water, juice. You can put some rocks in there, whatever. They are able to hold something. As we visualize our life, we have to understand that we have a capability. You are capable of something. You are not capable of everything, but you are capable of something. So let's imagine with these bottles of water, you have the 16-ounce bottle of water, and then you have an empty gallon jug. If you pour the water into the gallon jug, it will not fill it up because the gallon jug has more capacity. It has the ability to take on more than the 16 ounces. But let's flip the script for a moment and say that we have the full gallon of water and we try to pour that water into the 16-ounce bottle. When we pour it in, at 16 ounces, it becomes full. It is at capacity. Now, if we choose to continue to pour into the 16-ounce bottle, eventually you will start to see overflow or overcapacity. What will happen is the bottle will try to receive the water that's being poured into it, but it will spill out the water that was already into it. Understanding our capacity is crucial, but too often we push beyond our limits due to fear of appearing incapable. I know my personal experience was taking on a lot of tasks because I knew I could do it, but not realizing when I was at capacity. I remember times where in ministry and church and in other situations, I was feeling overwhelmed. Actually, let me back up. When I was in college, or even just younger, I was a great procrastinator. I was able to do stuff at the last minute. When I was working on my master's, I was able to do my 5-page paper or whatever that was due on Sunday night. I was able to go to church on Sunday and then Sunday evening get the paper done. there was this push, and I guess like this fun about procrastinating and being able to do stuff at the last minute. So I began to just know that, hey, I can procrastinate and get stuff done. But the older I got, the less capable I was of procrastinating to the last minute, because it started to feel more stressful. There began to be more anxiety, and all of those types of things happen. So back to capacity. My capacity was a certain thing at a certain age. But then as I got older, my capacity changed. So unlike the bottles who have their capacities set, your capacity can grow, but it needs to grow over time. We all have different capacities and capabilities, and it can change, it can expand, it can become more, but we have to realize what our initial capacity is, what our initial capability is, so that we don't overdo it and find ourselves overstressed. Many entrepreneurs, business owners will often find themselves taking on so many tasks because it has to be done, but then the excitement for business is lost because they're over capacity. They are capable of doing it. Me, to be totally transparent, there are times where this podcast doesn't get out of time, get out on time, or when it's supposed to be, because I'm building a new consistency. I'm building a new capacity, and I'm building a new capability. So though I'm able to edit and do all of these things as it relates to video, as it relates to talking, to teaching, I've found that my capacity sometimes is like, I can't do everything. I can't take on everything. If you've ever found yourself trying to take on everything, you're making a big life mistake. I know that we have the quotes about being a master of this or not being a jack of all trades. To be honest, we have to expand our capability over time, but not at the expense of being over capacity. So what that means, or what that looks like, is to say, understand what you can do in a certain time, in a certain context, in a certain season. Don't push yourself to do everything so that you can be seen as capable. Because for me, I took on task after task after task that I was capable of doing, and I felt like I had this unlimited capacity because I was a great procrastinator. But as I get older, I realize that procrastination for me is not the same as it used to be. And even here's another thing, my procrastination was sometimes a fear of dealing with what was in front of me, and I had to figure out how to get over that. So even in this season of my life, where I take those lessons to become winning seasons, I'm understanding that sometimes you have to change your capability and capacity so that you can do what you need to do. Sometimes that's limiting it. Sometimes it's saying, yeah, I know I'm able to do this, or I'm capable of doing this, but I'm not able to do it right now. So let's go to the bottles again. For that gallon jug to fill up the 16-ounce water bottle, there's still some left. So the bottle could say, well, let me bring some more bottles on so that I can take what you're trying to give. We have to learn to be in a position to where it's okay to not have capacity, and also know when to say no because we don't have the capacity. Here are a few of the key points, and you can take these key points and do what you have to do with them. You can play with them. You can toss them around your mind and go that way. When you are accustomed to being over capacity, when it seems like there's not enough hours in a day, you have to learn how to reset that. And it takes time. There's baby steps, there's milestones to becoming that person that is capable, but knows their limitations, and they don't force themselves to live in the I guess the zone of incapability, or overcapacity. So you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you're always over capacity. You have to, one, prioritize tasks. This is something that I constantly have to figure out. This is something that I constantly find myself in this season of my life saying, okay, what is most important? because there was a season of my life where everything felt important. Every task felt important. I had to do everything, get everything done. And I realized, man, you're not getting as much done as you want to get done because you've taken on too much stuff. So there's this thing called the Eisenhower Matrix. Feel free to Google it, search it up so that you can understand for those who are looking to get better at not being over capacity. The Eisenhower Matrix is broken into four parts, and in these four parts, you deal with prioritizing, delegating, deleting, and I forgot what the fourth one is. I don't have that note in front of me, but there's four parts of it. Look it up and attempt to use it. But here's the thing: we have to prioritize our tasks. We have to delegate. Delegation is something that a lot of professionals, or let me not say professionals, a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes are struggled with. They know that they need to do stuff and get stuff done, but because their business is their baby, they don't want to delegate because they can't trust the person that they're delegating to do it like they would do it. I've been there. I'm still sometimes there where I'm like, I'm capable of doing this, so let's just let me go on and do it. Versus saying, over these years, I could have been training people to do some of the tasks that I need done and delegating it to where now I wouldn't be looking for people to delegate to. It would already be set. So sometimes you have to prioritize delegation. You have to prioritize putting people in position to say, hey, I know you don't know how to do this yet, but I'm going to take my time to prioritize getting this done so that in the future it's easier because I have somebody in position. So we prioritize tasks, we delegate, we set boundaries. Sometimes we don't even have to set boundaries with other people. Sometimes we have to set the boundary with ourselves. In previous videos, I've talked about saying no. Sometimes the first person we have to say no to is ourselves. When somebody asks for me to do something, there are times where I have to get comfortable with saying to myself, no, you don't have the time to do that. You need to make sure that you get some stuff off of your list before you take on something else. Sometimes the setting the boundary is not setting a boundary with people. Sometimes setting the boundary is setting the boundary with yourself, where you're like, hey, I got to tell me no. I have to discipline myself. I have to set boundaries to push myself to where I understand what I'm capable of. Set a boundary on how much you try to do in a week. Set a boundary on what you choose to take on in your life, in your mind, because everything you take on takes up capacity in your mind. You may be a 16 ounce, you may be a gallon, but whatever you are, don't be overfilled and over capacity because you want to be seen as capable. The next thing is time management. Time management is a tricky one. It's one that a lot of people have found themselves struggling with, especially when I was the super procrastinator. Man, I would, I ain't have no time management. I just knew I needed to get everything done and everything needed to be done before it needs to get done. Like I didn't put the stuff in the schedule. I didn't do it consistently. I didn't position myself to make sure it was getting done in the right way at the right time. I was just doing stuff. It was getting done, but there was no organization. I just knew everything had to get done because I don't remember being taught time management as a child, time management as a kid. So even for the parents that are watching, teach your children time management and teach them time management the right way. Here's what I mean by that. Time management is not you just putting everything to the schedule, because when it's all said and done, we don't know what will happen. We can't plan sickness. We can't plan that. But time management is really use your time in the most effective way that you can. Also scheduling stuff to say, these are the deadlines. This is, I teach my students this often. They'll be like, well, the assignment wasn't due until Friday. Well, you started working on it on Thursday. So the fact that it's not done, or it's not done to the best of your ability, is because you looked at the due date as the due date. You looked at the DUE date as the DO date. These are two different things, but I'll let y'all talk to y'all self about that. Next, seek support. Find people to help. These are all extremely challenging and things that I'm working on, because I'm like, okay, well, a lot of times when people want to seek support or even delegate, they find themselves, when it comes to business or stuff, it's like, well, I could seek support, but I ain't got the money to pay for the support that I need. So now I got to do everything that I got to do so that the people that I need to have help support me can get paid. Just seek the support. That's what I'm telling myself. Just seek the support. Maybe the cost is not as much as you thought it would be. But when you're over capacity and you're still trying to do everything yourself, nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. Or the things that do get done are just random things because you didn't have time management, you didn't have organization. So, um, another part which may seem off compared to the other things is self-care. Overcapacity, if you've ever been at the level of overcapacity that I've been, you totally lose sight of self-care. You find yourself doing so much that your self-care, at least for me, was just naps. My self-care wasn't exercise. My self-care wasn't um, going out somewhere. My self-care was falling asleep because I was over capacity. And then the thing is, I would work 10, 12-hour days, take a nap, wake up, need to do some more stuff, but I was over capacity and unorganized. So I couldn't even get the stuff done. So I wasn't even really getting rest. I was just getting sleep. The next thing, simplify and automate. If you can't find, what was that I said earlier? If you can't seek support from people, seek support from automation. Find things that allow you to get things done without you having to do everything. Because especially if you're already over capacity and you need to make the adjustments, you need to adjust however you can to get stuff off the plate. But before you do all of this, honestly, you have to get organized. You have to figure out what you have on your plate already, because if you've already been pouring into your 16 ounce and it's overflowing, you got some spills and some messes to fix up so that you can start working within your capacity, because you are capable. You are able to do this thing. You are uh, in a position to win if you start to limit yourself to be the winner that you're supposed to be. And what that looks like is saying, no, I can't do that. I have to get this done. And also asking questions. If somebody is reaching out to you to get something done, and you know that you're already at capacity, you can ask some more questions. Like, hey, what is the timetable looking like for that? When are you trying to get this done? What is your expectations? Asking enough questions will help you position you to where now you can see, based on that, hey, is there things that I can simplify about what they want, and some things that I can automate to where it's realistic for me to get this done? So I have more points, but I'm getting close to my time. So here are the takeaways that I want you to really walk away with. I know that I realized just last year that I was over capacity. I wasn't feeling well. I was doing the most. I had a new job. I had to build stuff. I had a lot going on. But I didn't want to be seen as not capable, so I just did everything that I could do until I started feeling bad, until I was like, man, I'm overwhelmed. My mind, I can't even rest when I sleep. Here's the takeaway. Understanding that you are capable but don't have the capacity is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's a realization of the fact that if I want to get more done, I have to work within my capability and my capacity. I have to set those boundaries and even goals that say, I know I have some spillover from being over capacity. I got some cleaning up to do, but you can't clean up what spilled over if you're still pouring in to the bottle that's over capacity. So essentially, you have to know what your limits are. For years, I have not known what my limits were. I remember being told that I was over capacity from several people that saw me running around getting stuff done. But for me, I was like, I gotta prove that I'm capable. If you try to prove that you're capable by being over capacity, you've proven that you don't have discipline. So take this away. You are capable. You have a unique capacity that can be extended when it's time. But focus on living within your capability and capacity if you want to win. So if you find yourself struggling with managing your workload, take a step back, assess your capacity. Start with one of the strategies that we talked about. You don't have to do them all. Just find one, because if you try to do them all, then you're just over capacity again. So thanks for joining me for this episode of the Reflections Podcast. Hope this discussion helps you find balance and prevent burnout. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with somebody who might be overwhelmed or need help. And I look forward to sharing more stories and helping you build more winning season. Until next episode, let's keep winning. Peace.